All right, take it away. We're recording.
All, all right. So I will call to order the meeting for the Commission on Diversity Awareness for this Tuesday, November 26, 2024. And so roll call, Carolyn Kidd, Mandy Martinez-Gebler, myself here, Sandra Darling Roberts.
It's Sandra Darling. Thank you.
Sandra Darling.
Sorry, Sandra, I corrected the wrong version of this. I think that when I changed the date, I changed it from the draft before I changed it. My bad. That's on me.
It happens. We're getting there. Thank you.
Mindy Riesenberg, Manny Hernandez,
Here.
Angelica Sanchez,
Present.
and Tarang Jane. Okay, so we'll move forward with our mission statement. So we are a commission to foster support, respect, awareness, and appreciation of diversity among all citizens of Flagstaff. Would anybody like to read the land agreement? I can take that too if nobody wants to. Or Angelica, if you'd like.
Sure. So the Commission on Diversity Awareness humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's Indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by Native descendants, border mountains sacred to Indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place is home.
Thank you so much. All right. Upcoming opportunities and announcements. Chris, would you mind scrolling down a little bit for me?
Certainly.
No worries.
I'm working off one screen today, so I'm flipping back and forth. My apologies.
Okay. It's okay. All right. So the public comment section. So the commission cannot act upon items presented during the public participation portion of the agenda. Individual commission members may ask questions of the public, but are prohibited by the open meeting law from discussion or considering the item among themselves until the item is officially placed on the agenda. Each public comment or presentation will be limited to 5 minutes. So do we have any public comments at this time? Okay, it does not appear that there are any public comments. All right, so moving on, we have I'm sorry, Ray, were you waiting to speak? It looked like you might have been.
I'm sorry, no, I was not.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we didn't overlook you. Okay,
Thank you.
so the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from October 16th meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Okay. And does anyone want to make a motion on those minutes? I personally myself will not, simply because I was not present for that meeting. So I will abstain, but if anybody would like to make a motion to accept.
Commissioner Sanchez here. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Hernandez, I'll second.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? Okay, so the meeting minutes for October 16th are approved. Okay. And for action items, it does not look like we have any current action items at this time. And have we discussed at all the proclamations or any work groups moving forward for proclamation?
Is that a question for me or for one of the other members of the commission?
Oh, for you, Chris. I'm sorry, I must have cut out. I
No,
was
no
just
worries.
asking if we had established any work groups or anything like that for proclamations.
Not so much of a work group at this point. We do have it on the agenda as a recurring item, so we can review it. And I have a few updates when we get to that item, but no work group on that yet.
Okay. Okay, so we don't have any current proclamations pending, it looks like. Do we know actually when the next proclamation will be? Is that Black History Month?
It is, and I can get to that when we get to that item later on the agenda.
Okay, perfect. All right, so reports and discussion items. So inclusive wayfinding is the first one up. And I personally am not super familiar with that. So Chris, if you would like to share about that, that would be really helpful.
Of course,
I'd be
we actually have someone here who will be presenting on this item for us, so I can go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint for him and let Hunter here take it away.
Yeah, before we jump in, I'll go ahead and introduce this topic again. This is something I brought up at one of our last meetings. I've seen some things in other cities where we'll have wayfinding signage around the entirety of the city that like follows a certain suite of design. And I was thinking, how can we make this inclusive? For example, you'll see in Hunter's presentation, we'll have some examples from other cities where it's in multiple languages, these wayfinding signs. For example, in Louisiana, it'll be in French and English. So Hunter will touch on that more, but he's the executive director of the Downtown Business Alliance, and he's also worked in multiple cities throughout the country, has a good understanding of implementing and coming up with these ideas to be more inclusive. One reason I really wanted to bring this up with this commission in particular, aside from the fact that I'm on this commission, is because we have these. One thing I'll rewind for a second. I had the opportunity to attend a seminar given by one of the tribal council people from the Muckleshoot tribe in Washington. And one thing that he was saying to us is that he personally does not ever accept doing land acknowledgements if there's not action being taken behind those words. So I hear we have here in this commission, we have these land acknowledgements and we have these proclamations that we do, and we say a lot of words, but I want to make sure that there's actions being taken behind these words that we're saying, which is why I think this would be a great way to be able to take action on these land acknowledgements that we're giving and make Flagstaff a more inclusive place for the people that were here for thousands of years before we were in this land. So I'll go ahead and let Hunter take it over, and just wanted to give you a little background on why I wanted to bring this up.
All right, guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me today. And so, is this presentation going to be led by you, Chris, as far as advancing slides, or did you want me to share my screen, or how did you want to approach this?
Either way, I've got it pulled up here, so I can advance the slides just at your cue. But if you want to do it either way, your preference.
Yeah, we don't need to make this a big production, so I'll just have you advance the slides whenever I'm ready. So yeah, if you want to go ahead and open that up for us.
I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing my screen. I am
I can
my
share mine,
bad.
Chris. It's no problem. I have it open
Okay,
already. I'll just go ahead
sure.
and
If you have it
share.
open, that works. And that way I don't have to jump back and forth between my windows either.
Yeah, no, I think it might be a little easier that way. So, all right. So now you guys have a view of my screen, and then I believe it is, I have another tab open. Okay. So, yeah, thanks for the introduction there, Manny. Wayfinding and local identity is what we're going to discuss here today. And so, this is a screen cap from our vision plan, from our downtown vision plan that was adopted by the city, I guess, a little over a year ago at this point. And so here I just kind of called out some of the things that I'd like to tackle as I'm about halfway through my first year here, and as you can see on the action items on number 2 there, it says create a wayfinding master plan for downtown that identifies locations and messaging, enhances the downtown Flagstaff brand, and refer to the placemaking catalyst guide. So this is just another screenshot from the vision plan, just kind of you know this some validity here to this conversation that this was drafted and approved by a panel of experts on how we should improve our wayfinding and our pedestrian experience in our city. And I'm mostly focused on downtown because that's where me and Manny are directly work for every day. But this could be a citywide approach. And so these are just kind of some cool examples I found online that I thought were each one is pretty unique, and there's a little bit of a different take on each one. And I'll tell you a little bit about that town and their history and what they care for, right? And so this is our current material palette in our downtown, which is pretty much the material palette for a lot of public works and parks and recs projects in downtown. You have pavers, natural stone, Corten steel, municipal green paint, and then various wood species. And so in Flagstaff, Arizona, we have the Foots Trail, which I think is a pretty great example of signage, suites, design, and incorporating local materials, and just creating some sort of identity based on history, and just it's basically storytelling, right? We're telling people that may not know much about the area a little bit about ourselves in a visual way. And so these are not 100% installed yet. I believe there's a handful installed at Thorpe Park, which is it's this Corten steel metal overlay over a gunmetal blue backer. So you kind of get the negative space reads as blue through the Corten steel. It's a very handsome sign. It's got a lot of natural stone in it. It's a very good look. I'm very satisfied with this look. And so this is the current look of the Flagstaff Urban Trail System. These, like I said, the new design suite hasn't really gone into place yet in most locations. So be looking for that in the future as I guess funding becomes available. And so dealing with in indigenous tribes and representation across the board is something that I think Flagstaff tries to tackle. And I think that they do a pretty good job, but there's still kind of a lack of a welcoming atmosphere in some places. And I'll say downtown first, we don't really pay much tribute to any of our tribal folks around here. And so that's something we'd like to change. And so I was speaking with some folks with the city planning department, and they sent me this example from Anchorage, Alaska, right? So this is I believe, I don't really know how to say this name. I think it's Dene tribe in the Anchorage area. They tackled this project, and what they wanted to do was create wayfinding and placemaking signage for some of their trailheads in their trail system. And so they worked with a panel of folks to help come up with the design, and kind of the talisman for that project became this fire bag that you can see on the right. And it's a ceremonial bag that's used. It has fire making tools and other ceremonial things for when they have a fire ceremony. So that was kind of the, the anchor for the design. And so you'll see how they incorporated it into the design there with some indigenous, wayfinding trailhead names there. And I just think it's a really unique and cool thing. I doubt there's any other place in the world that has this, right? Because it's a very local centric and historic design, right? And so just some other views of that. I think that's a very cool approach, and that's what I mean by preserving local identity through wayfinding. It's a very unique opportunity to give a visitor, or maybe even a new local or a lifetime local that doesn't know much, just a little bit of an insight into some of the history of the place. And so this is my hometown of Lafayette, Louisiana. As Manny touched on, there is a very large push to preserve French culture there. French heritage is, pretty prevalent in southern Louisiana, and so, but over the years, the use of the language kind of faded away, and so there's a big push to preserve the language with immersion schools and lots of festivals and lots of traditions that are still being upheld today, and so. It's something they held really, really highly, and they knew that losing their language made them a little less unique than they are currently. So it's something that is actively being pursued. And so, as you'll see here, this is part of a wayfinding suite that was created for the downtown area. All the street names were primarily in French, and then secondarily in English, and smaller up on the top there. And these signs look a little different. They're navy blue with white instead of traditional like green with white, because they were trying to make this seem like a cohesive downtown district and make it feel a little different from the rest of town, right? But they did go through and create a new whole I think it's called the MUDC, which is like it's what DOTD uses, and like what your local sign shop through the city would kind of use as a guide whenever they're designing new signs and new labels. So they went through and redesigned everything so that it looked like it was part of a bigger group. They went as far as making new pictograms for all the park signage, which I thought was very cool and very unique, and it has kind of its own feel to it, right? And so this is like phase one of the implementation there. And so you'll see, like we said, primarily in French, secondarily in English. And so these were installed in kind of a variety of ways. You'll have the more simple on the left there. That's a vinyl wrap that is kind of wrapped around like just a regular light pole. And so that's used as wayfinding and just for people to kind of get a better idea or better orient themselves if they're new to the area or if they're visiting, or maybe they've never been to the courthouse, right? So just things like that. Very cool, very unique. And then, a little bit more permanent with the metal signs bolted to the channel post there. And then the bigger investment there was these cabinets here that are aluminum legs on an aluminum post that were wrapped in a vinyl, right? So that if it was damaged, it could be removed and replaced. Or if we got a new courthouse somewhere, they could reprint the maps at a very low cost. The cabinets were right around $2,000 to create, and the wraps, I believe, are somewhere around $200. So kind of a cool, low-cost way to make something that's impactful, give you a sense of arrival within the district, or, at a trailhead or whatever it may be. And so I just wanted to give this little presentation just to get you guys thinking about how we could approach this in Flagstaff. And, it's something that our vision plan has called out directly as an action item or something we should look into. And so, why stop with the downtown? Could we create something a little bigger that could spread across the town and just kind of give the town its own feel? And it's a really good place to showcase what we hold in high regard, right? And in this case, French culture. And in the case in Anchorage, tribute to our indigenous forefathers and our, culture bearers there. So just something to think about. It's something I think we're going to pursue with downtown, and whether that looks, exactly like what the Foots design is, or if it has a slightly different spin because it's not done by Parks and Rec. Maybe it's those materials and that same kind of base design language, but with something a little bit more culturally sensitive, or something that can teach us a small lesson. It's something to look into. And thanks Manny for calling this out. It's something that you guys might be interested in. And that's about it. So if you guys want to chat or have any questions for me, I'm here until you kick me out.
When would you be looking to potentially start working on this project to see if this is something that would be doable for the city?
Well, projects like this need a champion, right? And so I think that's kind of where you guys come in as a first step. If it's something you're interested in pursuing, I guess we could put together some sort of panel to discuss how do we advance the the signage for the foot trails, and how do we use that as a path forward? Because I really like that design language, and I don't think we need to be fighting established styles. I think that's kind of contradictory to what I'm saying. Like, let's just work with what we have, and let's use it as a cultural or an identity kind of wayfinder, as secondary to the actual like map, or the actual like directional piece. But yeah, I don't really have a direct timeline. It's not something that the DBA has a budget to implement directly, but it's something we can definitely have conversations about. And yeah, just just looking forward to the feedback right now, because we work in a small office, and I don't really get to socialize a lot of these ideas too often. And so you guys are kind of the first. I've shown like maybe 3 or 4 other people this idea, and so yeah, I'd love to talk more, and see where it goes. We have a question from a council member House.
May I go ahead, Chair?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Hunter, for the presentation, and thank you, Manny, for bringing this forward. Definitely something I'm interested in seeing, and I love the idea in the chat about collaborating with the Indigenous Commission on this. I'm seeing a couple different collaborative avenues for this. So with the Commission on Diversity Awareness, the Indigenous Commission, and BPAC. I think all 3 of those would be champions for a project like this, and would just be interested in knowing if you have presented this to other commissions, or if you've spoken to anyone else on council about this to consider bringing it forward, probably in the new year.
Yeah, thanks for that. I haven't yet. I was planning on showing it to our board at our December meeting, which that city manager is on our board, and also I think we may have some other folks from the city joining us as guests there. So that would probably be like the biggest reveal outside of this group. But other than that, I've just talked to Michelle McNulty at the planning office. She shared the Anchorage concept with me, which I thought was very cool and very relevant. And so it's in the infant stages, but it's something that we see when we travel a lot. Like Manny and I were in Seattle early in September, and they had a signage suite very similar. And I was also in Vancouver the following year, and also a town with a very large indigenous group that has a lot of representation. And so those are good models for us, as Flagstaff is a city with a lot of indigenous and a lot of indigenous citizens, or folks that are very nearby or adjacent folks. So yeah, I think it's a good model, and I'd love to shop it around. Like I said, it's just kind of an idea right now. Don't really have any funding sources or anything identified, but if it evolves into a larger conversation, that would be great.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for having me. And if you want to collaborate or recommend me speak to another group, I'm available. Look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much, Hunter, for the presentation.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. You guys have a great day.
How would we go about collaborating with the Indigenous Commission moving forward?
So I believe he would actually have to present to that commission directly and talk to that commission about working with them and see if that's something that they would want to have support for. So we wouldn't be able to speak for the Indigenous Commission. He would actually have to talk to them, and they would have to decide collectively as a commission on the support for them.
And I'd be willing to talk to the chair, not the chair, the staff liaison of the Indigenous Commission. We're on the same team um, at here at the city, and I could throw this to her and see if she wants to add it to an agenda. I think I saw a comment as well from Council Member House. Let me see here. Yes, we could do a joint meeting on this as well. I have never presided over one of those. I would want to check to see how that can happen, but it certainly is a mechanism that we could go about if we want to. I'm not sure we're at the stage for that yet, but the next step would probably be if this commission has a specific recommendation of how it wants to move forward or an idea, then I can take that to Rose Tohi, but and see if the Indigenous Commission wants to discuss that themselves or how to move forward from there. Bring that back to you all.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. If you would be willing to talk to their staff liaison, since I brought this up, I personally would like to recommend it. I don't know if we need to go through any sort of vote for that process, but it'd be great to get the conversation starting and put it in more ears.
Yeah, and this is a discussion
something,
item.
Chris,
So
that we could add to the agenda for.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, you're okay. I was just going to say, is this something that we should add to the agenda for next month when we can have the chair here, and she would be able to also have her input on it, just so we can make sure that there's understanding among the majority of the commission members as to the project and the involvement. And did we want to possibly wait until Chair Kidd is available to discuss with everybody?
We're not required to do that, but for any kind of any specific reason with our rules or anything like that, if you want a larger conversation and you want more members to be present, you can certainly put it on an agenda again. But I would I think on something like this, I would recommend that if you have direction you want to give, we can move forward with it now and come back to the commission. I mean, it would likely have future conversations involved as well, so it wouldn't just be this today's meeting and then we're done. I'm sure it would be in front of you again if we move forward with it. So I don't think know that there's a reason that you would need to wait. But if you'd like to, you certainly have that prerogative.
I mean, if everybody else and who's present is interested in moving forward, I would support the concept of moving forward with the idea also.
Yeah, I'm in support of going ahead and starting to communicate, and then, as Chris mentioned, so we already have a quorum here, and it seems like we are all in agreement. Anyone can correct me if I'm wrong. We might as well continue to keep the ball rolling instead of tabling it. and then it'll come up in future meetings naturally.
Okay. So Chris, do we have to make a motion or anything like that?
No, no, and this is a discussion item. It's agenda. We have no action items, so there's no vote to take. It's just you can tell me what to do, and I can come back and do it. It's as simple as that. So the only questions I would have are, is there any specific context you want to move forward, or do you like the idea kind of holistically for the city? Is there a certain, like a specific thing you're looking for that you want incorporated in it, or a certain area of town, or something along those lines, just so I have a little more information when I go to that second commission.
I'll direct that one to Manny since he's got more information on the project.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for you to just be able to give him a holistic explanation of the project and what we're trying to do. I think the main point would be is through wayfinding, which is something that any city could use. But how can we use that in order to make Flagstaff a more welcoming and more inclusive place for the people that have been here for thousands of years? I think one of the main focuses on the project would be, like we saw in the signs from Lafayette, Louisiana, and like first languages was French, and then smaller was in English. I think that would be something that would be important to me to see. And I think that would have the largest impact. And for implementation of the project, I mean, I would say the most visible spot would be downtown. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased, but I would love to see this throughout the entire city. And every time we, have funding in the city to put in new signs, things are wearing out. Can we follow that same design standard? And eventually it'll spread throughout the entire city.
Okay, that's pretty clear. If the rest agrees with that, then I can certainly take that to them, and I have enough substance to initiate that conversation.
I think that sounds like a good plan. So Councilmember House said process to replace the street signs can be costly, so it may be worth looking at new signage similar to the waymarker example shown in the presentation. Okay. Like the large one, like that was shown like from Anchorage?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm remembering the process that the city went through to replace when they renamed Agassiz Street to
Yeah,
W.C. Riles. It
W.C.
was kind
Riles.
of a yeah. It was a timely process to do the renaming, but then also costly because it's not just replacing a sign. It's, you're ordering that, you're getting the language approved and all of those sorts of things. So it seems like maybe it would just be easier to do a new sign altogether. Sort of like I'm from Pennsylvania originally, and in our downtown and surrounding areas, they had both waymarker signs, so like the ones that were shown for Anchorage, but also like historic markers, and putting up that sort of signage. It doesn't necessarily make it less costly to, do the installation, but it can be a much simpler process than trying to get all the different approvals that are needed for updating a street sign.
Okay. I think that makes sense. Manny, does that sound like something that you would be open to considering as an alternative if the street sign option isn't really financially feasible at the moment?
I mean, definitely. I think there just needs to be a catalyst. I don't see
Right.
much pushback that could come from this. All I see is like we implement a catalyst project of whether it's signs or cabinets or something else from that presentation. I see it being very well accepted. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if we just get it started somewhere, then it can spread kind of from the inside out.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great. Yeah, so Chris can coordinate with the Indigenous Commission. Yeah, I think that would be great for us to be able to see kind of where they're at with that thought process, and then see what we can do to start to move forward on it. All right. Well, thank you so much for having Hunter give us that presentation, Manny. I really appreciate that.
Of course, of course.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, so our next discussion item is the updates from working groups. Chris, did you want to take it away?
Sure. Let's see. I can just give a quick update from our city logo group that I also happen to be the staff liaison for. We're nearing the end of the student semester there, and we are down to 3 designs that we are likely to see change a few times before they're final. But the work that we have there is moving along pretty well, and we think we're still on track to have a new recommendation to City Council by roughly spring break, maybe February, March, and we'll see what happens there. We're going to do some public outreach over the next month or 6 weeks or so. We'll probably come back to you all as well, let you know what's happening with it, so you can see what they look like. But they're pretty good and moving along. Angie is kind of stepping in as our liaison to that more recently, so thank you to Angie for that. But it's moving on, and I think that you all will probably see this design in the next few weeks.
Oh, that's exciting.
I can also provide
All right.
date on. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just going to provide a quick update on the library collaboration that we've been working on. Our working group this past month focused on drafting a message to leadership, answering some of the questions like, why should the library house an oral history collection? Why does representation matter? Those kinds of things. And so that's all sorted. We are ready to send that later this week. The name change clinic also happened earlier this month, and it was really well attended. There were 40 people who came, and so that was super exciting. And we are on track to have Drag Story Hour happening next week. Felicia is working on getting that programming approved. At this point, most of the work that we've done on this is kind of in the library's courthouse or court, and they'll be moving this forward. So there isn't much to do for CODA at this time until the project is approved, at which point I hope to come back and kind of talk about the role of CODA, which is mostly just spreading the word and supporting with recruitment.
That's awesome. It sounds like there was a lot of progress made recently. That's so good. And I love that about the name change clinic. That's amazing. All right. Does anybody else have anything they wanted to add in this section or any updates to share? All right. Okay, so moving on, I know this was something that somebody wanted to discuss before when we did not have a quorum. So the Flagstaff Pride, the Rainbow Pavement exhibit. I wanted to say that was Sandra, maybe?
So I
Maybe
was
not. I
out.
can't remember.
I was out on my honeymoon last month. Yay me. But our vice president from Flagstaff Pride, Martin Tees, had attended and had some of that discussion. I know he brought it to our executive board meeting, and I think, as I understand, having not been here, the goal is a continued discussion. There's interest from the board in participating. We were told, so this is, heard from someone who heard from someone, that there was a meeting with the mayor and council member suite with a new organization that was started. This was touched on really briefly at the Transgender Day of Remembrance event, that there was this conversation and somebody had taken on this project. So I was hoping to hear more of if anyone knew what had happened there, where we can support, play along.
Looks like Councilperson House said she has an update to share on the.
Yes, thank you, Sandra. I was at that meeting as well, so can share that the crosswalk idea did come up during that meeting, and it was shared that apparently BPAC has been working on this as well.
Who is
And
that?
Go ahead.
Who was that? Sorry.
BPAC, the Beautification and Public Arts Commission, I believe.
Thank you.
I think that's what that stands for. Don't quote me on it.
Okay.
But they apparently have been working on something aligned with this. So I um, unfortunately got extremely sick very shortly after that meeting, and so have not had a chance to reconnect with Councilmember Sweet to verify exactly what that process is that they're working on. But I did ask during that meeting that they connect with the Commission on Diversity Awareness, because you all have been working on this for so long. To ensure that we remain part of the conversation, and that any of the collaborations and processes that you all have been going through are brought to that table as well. So I know the mayor was on board. I don't want to fully speak for her, but can say that there was general support around the table for this idea. And so it should be coming back forward from somewhere. I just don't know exactly where. I still need to check in and follow up on what exactly BPAC was working on or is bringing forward, and just making sure that we're brought into the loop on that.
Thank you. I guess I can add that from that executive board meeting, our leadership, as we understood it, there were a couple of other organizations doing LGBTQ plus advocacy work who came to that meeting. Our executive board, I think basically we welcome all support on this, but our leadership did put a lot of work into the initial proposal, and would like to be invited to support in any way they can. And I think there was hope for some contribution to the discussion about the location. There had been talk of this rainbow installation being, as opposed to a crosswalk, an alleyway, and some concerns that makes this statement that maybe isn't as welcoming. And that's probably all I have.
No, I think that's a valid point. Yeah, I think that's a valid point. An alleyway definitely does not present as a welcoming avenue. I would agree with that statement for sure.
Yeah, kind of like triggers that closet thing. So we'd love to support.
I mean, in an alleyway, it's it's yeah.
Yeah, I believe when we originally had that, when we got notified from the city engineers for the conflicts with the crosswalks, I know I had suggested an alleyway, and I know the one that I had suggested was it's more of that pedestrian walking area. It's Aspen Alley with like Sosoba, Rainbow's End, Flag Brewing Company, which is more of a plaza in my opinion. But that was just a suggestion that I had thrown out when we heard that we would be getting pushback from the city engineers.
Yeah, and it's totally valid. I don't mean to undermine that in any way, but if we have the opportunity to get it on the street, I think we would like to see that. And maybe the new art that's the paintings, there's a mural on the streets in front of FALA, the Arts and Leadership Academy. Maybe that sort of mural can change this conversation stuff about where this can be placed.
Yeah, and I do agree with you. I think the first option would be, continuing with the original plan. I just made that suggestion in order to, like, if that was actually going to get shut down, then I wouldn't want to see the project killed. To at least get something done.
Thank you.
Okay, any other updates, comments for this particular agenda item?
I will just note that I was just going to note that I had not heard about that other meeting until right now today. And knowing that BPAC is working on that, I actually just talked with their staff liaison, Jenna Roldan, earlier today on a different topic, and I can reach out to her and see what's happening and try to get the right hand talk to the left hands, because if work is being done in different areas and we can all get it into one place, then I think that would just benefit everybody, by us and them and all the various groups, including Flag Pride, that would like to be a part of this. So I will reach out to her and coordinate, and we'll probably look to place this on an agenda in the future, either next month or the month after, depending on what I learn when I talk to her about where things are at and what needs to happen next.
Awesome. That sounds great, Chris. Thank you so much. All right. Anyone else? Okay. All right. So it looks like it's time for updates from our council liaison. Councilperson House, do you have anything that you would like to share?
I think I have actually shared it all. So the only other update that I was going to give
say,
was,
it sounded like you had a lot of good information.
I know. The only other update I really had was about that meeting. It was the organization, and this is particularly for you, Sandra, in case you have not had the name yet. It's Arizona Progressive Action Community, or AZPAC is their abbreviation. And I'll put that in the chat too, so you don't have to, in case anybody missed that. But they asked to meet with some of us on council who they knew were supportive and in allyship and beyond with the LGBTQIA plus community, and brought up a couple different topics, including the crosswalk idea. And so there is a lot that's going on with them. I know some of their hopes or desired programs are a little bit beyond what we probably can do as a city. For example, one of the big things is a big push that they want to have for Flagstaff to become an official sanctuary city. And that is going to be particularly challenging with the incoming administration. So we are hoping to continue in conversations with them, and I will continuously bring information from those meetings to this meeting as well. Have also been in conversations with NAU and the Black Student Union for their work on the MLK program. I believe they are looking to still have that be primarily student-led going into 2025, but would be looking for more opportunities for collaboration going into 2026. So if that's something to just kind of keep on our radar and continuously be looking at what partnerships in programs like that might look like, that would be great. And I'll also probably be coming back in the new year for things like Juneteenth or any other commemorations that CODA either could be part of or just to be aware of that are coming up in the community. And that's it for me.
Thank you so much for that information. Does anybody have any questions for Councilperson House? Okay. So it looks like now we are at the updates from our staff liaison. So, Mr. Chris.
All right, thank you. I don't have much this month. Most of the things I had to share are covered in our agendized items. So nothing really from me on this.
Okay. All right. And so the agenda for future meetings, are we, is there anything that we're wanting to add?
There's nothing that I want to add to the agenda for future meetings, but I just want to make sure that all council or all commissioners, let's stay focused on some of the things that we have. The inclusive wayfinding, I think, is a good thing to keep talking about. Also, the rainbow crosswalk, I think, is another good thing. Let's keep focusing on it. Like I said before, there's no reason to be saying the proclamations that we say or the land acknowledgements that we give if there's no action being taken behind it, which is why I encourage all of you to keep this in your mind, and let's make this happen and get some positive change here in Flagstaff, and make it's already a great place to live. Let's keep making it a better place to live. So like I said, I just encourage you all to keep this in your mind, and we'll keep it on the agenda for future meetings.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Manny.
And Commissioner Hand, that actually brings up a good question I wanted to ask the commission. I keep in my own files for this commission a small document that has kind of a parking lot of all the items that we're continually working on, even if they aren't on an agenda for a specific month. Would it be helpful for you all if I included that as a section or its own agenda item, just so I can say, here's the things that we are aware of and we're working on. So even if there's no need for it to be in front of the commission that month, you can at least see that we're still looking at it, and you can say, okay, we haven't heard from this in 3 months. What's going on here? And we can keep things flowing that way. Would that be helpful for you all?
I think that would be great.
Okay, phenomenal.
Because
I can
especially
add
because our
that
meetings
next
are only
month.
once a month, it's easy to forget.
Yeah, I can do that for next month. I'll add that as a permanent agenda item so that you all know what what we're working on, what we've talked about in the past that still has not been resolved.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. That'll be super
Yeah,
helpful.
thanks, Chris. That'd be really helpful.
All right. Do we have anything else for today?
I wanted to ask, the first meeting I was in, there was some conversation and the discussion of a possible working group around the camping ordinance. Is that something that CODA is going to continue to work on?
So I believe what happened was the commissioners that were part of that working group, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, Chris, I believe they left. And so we didn't want to assign anyone else to that working group until the new commission members had been established. So then that way, if somebody wanted to be a part of that working group, that they could. Chris, tell me if that's right. I feel like that's right, but I could be wrong.
That sounds like it's in the right direction. What I can see where and I was actually waiting. I was going to let you go ahead first, Commissioner Darling, but that item is one that is in that parking lot. Ones that we're speaking, would like to come back to the commission. I have been trying to prod our police department for a few weeks on this, and I had a brief discussion with our police chief about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he said, "Yeah, we have a policy in that," and sent me to another individual, and then they kind of said, "No, there's nothing in writing yet." So I'm still prodding on that, and it is my intention to bring that back next month and give you all a clear update of where we are at on enforcing that item, how it's at, how our police is actually responding to that ordinance, and then based on all of that, we can go into deciding whether we need to have a working group or whether we want to take different kind of action. Because depending on what's actually happening in our community and what we want to do about that, the path forward, there's a lot of different ways to move on that.
I think that's good to have a little bit more clarification first, for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
And I can also say on a different item, I'll have for you next month. I didn't have it for you this month. We missed it by just a little bit on the agenda. But the Human Rights Campaign released its scorecard for all the 506 cities that it assesses on everything from their ordinances to programs they run for making themselves an inclusive community. I work with them every year on the city's scorecard for that, and it was published on the 21st, so 5 days ago. And I will be bringing you all a presentation on where we are, how we scored. I'll show you where we gained points, where we lost points, all that kind of stuff. And then I'll give I give that same presentation to council, and I'll be there probably after the break in January or February, whenever is the right time. There's other more important action items that I try to give precedent to on the agenda. But I'll come to you all first so you can see it as well and be involved in that.
That's exciting. All right. Does anyone have anything else for today?
I did want to discuss briefly the proclamation for January, and I was looking at the agenda. It looks like it actually was under action items earlier in the agenda. Would it be possible to go back to that briefly? I think it could also fall under future agenda items because we're going to discuss it again next month.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So I wanted to briefly just show where we're at here. Switch over to our calendar. So we have MLK Day and Black History Month will both be ones that come to CODA in January. And I know that we talked last time about meeting with Dr. Mallet on some of their events and trying to help promote those kind of things. So it's my intention to see if he can attend next month and we can have a conversation in December before the year ends about what those events are going to be and how we can um, help partner with them and to promote them in the community. I'll also share the draft that we've had the previous years for Black History Month, and that way you all can take a look at the language, make any suggestions you would like, and then we'll look to approve it in January so that council has plenty of time to put it on one of their agendas. But with that item on with Dr. Mallet, is there anybody here with us today that is more in the know of what those festivities may look like come February, and if we should be trying to do anything over the next 3 weeks or so before we meet again in December?
I think Councilperson House has her hand up, so hopefully she has some of the information.
So thank you.
I do. Chris, for that, that was what I was sharing earlier about, I believe for 2025, the intention is to have the event still be very similar to what it's been in the past for MLK Day, with the possible inclusion of a couple elements, but still very much led by the students or BSU for 2025, and then looking to do more of the community collaboration, including with the City of Flagstaff and CODA for 2026. I can double check with him though to see if there is anything that they were looking for CODA to maybe be part of in that program for next year. Or, and please, forgive me, but were you saying that you were already going to reach out to him?
I would like to reach out to him so that next month I can at least report back on what he has plans to the commission. But if I wanted to ask today to see if there was anything happening over the next few weeks until we meet in December that we should know about, or can you get a head start on?
Okay, then yep, I'll leave the reach out or the connection there to you, and just let me know if there's anything I can do to support on that.
Oh, thank you. That's great. Yeah, just part of the trying to do a better job of reaching out well ahead of things so that we have plenty of time to plan around things and be involved, and we're not uh, dealing with things as they come up.
All right. Anything else to add? Well, thank you so much for letting me chair the meeting in the absence of Chairperson Kidd. And thank you so much. We'll meet again in December. And so we will adjourn for today at 2:40 p.m. For the Commission on Diversity Awareness. Thank you all so much.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Have a good day.